So my first application, this pad is charged and it's wet, and I want to be super ginger in the sense that I'm delicate as I apply. I just let it float. I don't apply much pressure. And I start off with straight strokes. And frankly, I think I need a little more. It's not going on. I feel like I can put more on. I like to start to go up and then come back. One coat for me with a charge is straight stroke, circular, figure eight, elongated figure eight, back to straight stroke so I don't see my streaks. I want to get the feel, but this is where it's starting to wear. Now I want to go circle. Now when you go into circular motion, the natural tendency is to press down into the surface. It's going to give you streaks. I'm literally lifting my hand up and just letting it gently glide, because when you get circular motions in here, they're hard to get out. And if you continually go in straight stroke motion, you get ridges, and then you get a sheen that's not glass-like. You can build your edges up a little bit, cross grain. And now I'll do it in halves. Sometimes I do it in thirds with my figure eights. Stretching out your circular streaks. And I'll do the middle. And then the outside. Then I'll want to do the whole piece. And when I said elongated figure eights, it's not extreme like this. They're more closer to the straight stroke, that I don't get those rounded edges. And if you notice, I am now applying a lot more pressure because I've extracted the Lubricite 77 onto the object. Less is on my pad, so I have to press a little harder. And sometimes I go a little faster to start to burnish.
What is burnish?
It's just a little harder, faster, that it gets a little bit more sheen instead of me just going slow like this. That faster motion is a little friction, you create a little heat, and it somewhat burnishes the surface. So this table has had 5 layers, and that's why this is each one coat. And then I have to correct certain things. Because of this bow front, I want to be able to get that independent and it has the same luster. Now you start to look at your cloth, the bottom of your pad, and you'll see that it's white. There's still Lubricite 77 on here, but it's starting to dry. But there's still material on here. Now I want to go back to a circular stroke. So Lubricite 77 was designed and formulated to be used right out of the bottle with no additives. You know, there was an issue where sometimes with the traditional type of French polishing, you would have to add a little bit of oil to the shellac to act as a lubricant or a little bit of a flux. This was thin enough in its cut that it would go right on, but some people like to cut it a little bit. Some people like to use oil. My family formulated its own proprietary polish called Rosini Rejuvenator, and we've kind of used that in the preparation to restore. So it's a petroleum distillate, which is an oil base, which still remains on the piece after we've done the first 2 steps. So when we go to French polish, there's a little bit of a remnant, and it acts as that lubricant. Now this has had 5 coats. This is being the 6th coat. And what I was going to do is put a little bit of touch of that proprietary product that we use, which is the Rosini Rejuvenator. This is really dry. And when I put the amount of Rejuvenator on there, it's just a fingertip, just a little bit on the top that I take. My brother sells it on his website, kingdomrestorations.com. But I just put a little touch on there. And I'm able to press hard to extract the rest of the Lubricite 77 that's at the back of my pad out and get this gloss-like surface. French polish is relatively organic. It's shellac flakes that are cut with alcohol. Some people add a proportion of oil to their mixture. Some people add the oil to their cloth. Some add it to the object. And with French polish, there are so many different cuts. Out of the bottle, out of the can, it's a 5-pound cut, super thick. You can apply that with a rag or a brush. Then it's usually cut to 3-pound, 2-pound. But the French polishing portion is like a 1.5 pound cut, very, very thin, like Lubricite 77. That's why semantically the terminology French polishing and using Lubricite 77 somewhat go hand in hand. It's amazing that Lubricite is compatible with all finishes. And like I said early on in our introduction, my family, this product has been used and time tested over 70 years. I'm out of breath. And I'm almost at a point where it's just starting to, keep going in one direction, but there's not much going on. You can almost see there's no longer a halo, or a comet effect happening. I'm just kind of pressing, but we use this product for all types of repair. We did a lot of insurance claims, moving claims. We did, water damage, fire damage, and sometimes things didn't need to be fully refinished. And we used Lubricite 77 to revive and recondition. And it worked primarily, it was, nitrocellulose lacquers, they were varnishes. And since then we now have catalyzed lacquers, we have polyurethanes, polyesters, water-based. This works with them all. It amalgamates with them all. That's what makes it so unique. And it can be added, a hardener can be added to it, that it gives it more durability. And really what makes it different is that the term was modern French polish, because back in the 50s, this was done with not just the organic material being shellac, but there was this big secret. I always asked my dad, what's in Lubricite 77? And he would tell me that Mr. Galgano met with some German chemist and he came back with this formula that had 18 special ingredients and blah, blah, blah. And he couldn't tell me because he didn't know. But I was, when I was growing up in the shop, everyone asked me, I used to come around with a notebook when I'd ask questions. They'd say, what are you going to be? What are you, a chemist? Because I'd use these terms, carrier. What's your carrier? What are you talking about? They'd say, And I was asking about how the material was mixed. Because you read too much, they said. But it's all in the books. But this had a special product. And now as the girls have found out there, it's fun to find out about all the notes that their grandfather took from traveling abroad and working out this formulation. But again, it's amazing for repairs. It's amazing for reconditioning. It's dry now. I can continually build this up as long as I want. And I don't really necessarily need to use sandpaper. I don't have to use steel wool. It's only when I run into a problem. So that would be my finished coat on here. It's a little too shiny, so I would let this dry. When you say let it dry, we still clients let it dry 3 days in the house. Because we used to do this on site. But we'll let it dry in the shop for a few days. I probably would give this a light steel wool, and then we would give it a coat of paste wax, which is another product my brother custom makes and formulates, and just gives it a little bit more of a supple satin semi-gloss luster rather than this high gloss luster.